I bring this story to you today not because I think it's the most important story. In fact, I bring it because of how depressed I am that it doesn't even matter. How utterly embarrassing, ridiculous, and damning what I'm about to discuss is barely is news at all because of what's been done to America. But I am talking about Donald Trump, who has met with a bunch of leaders from Africa and in a variety of different ways has utterly embarrassed America. But we're gonna start with the president of Senegal, who apparently understands Donald Trump very well. And you'll see that demonstrated in this clip.
I was wondering what your secret was for resolving all these complex crises, and I know you are a tremendous golf player. Golf requires concentration and precision, qualities that also make for a great leader. Senegal has exceptional opportunities to offer, including in the area of tourism. So perhaps an investment could be made in a golf course in Senegal. It would just be 6 hours by flight from New York, from Miami, from Europe, or from the Gulf, and that would be an opportunity for you to show off your skills on the golf course too. Thank you for your attention, sir.
Nice. Some way to show off my skills. It's a long trip to show off my skill. But that's really nice, and he's led a very interesting life. He looks like a very young person. He's a little older than he looks.
Oh my God, there's so much there. He has an interesting life. He looks young. Oh, which chapter of his biography is that covered in? You apparently know him so well, but set aside that because that's like the fourth most embarrassing thing there. The president of Senegal knows that Donald Trump is a guy that is as easy to flatter as possible. And you better do it, by the way, because this guy doesn't give a damn about Africa. He barely cares about trade or the economy or anything. He's here to learn about him. And even when you're flattering him in this way, talking about how amazing he is at golf or whatever, you play the video back if you want. His eyes are shutting and he can barely stay awake because all of this, exercising power and influence, representing America on the world stage, bores the hell out of him because he doesn't care about it. And so you do what you have to do. And what you have to do is you have to flatter him and also open the door to a little bit of corruption. So maybe Donald Trump sets up some sort of golf course. Maybe he gets a big subsidy from Senegal or something to do it. And then he can go there and he can make some money. I mean, after all, what is the point of talking to world leaders if you're not gonna get some sort of massive bribe? And so I think it was masterful from the president there doing that. He definitely wants to set up more golf courses. I think these days though, you really gotta give him a plane or maybe give him a boat or a helicopter or a rocket or a sled or a choo-choo. You gotta give him something fancy, okay, that goes directly to him and not to the US government. That's the way to get his attention. But anyway, can you tell David that I find this frustrating? That this is how world leaders read our president?
Well, I would have thought that anybody who flatters Donald Trump about golf, that Donald Trump would respond, really well. But what I took away from that clip was Donald Trump's like, 6 hours is a long way for me to show off my skills. As if I don't need to go to Africa to show all of you how good my golf game is. So to me, that shows that Donald Trump has a not only a chip on his shoulder, but I think he looks down on Africa. And I think he sort of figures like Africa is one of those S-hole countries that one of the S-hole continents, and that maybe that man's country is one of those S-hole countries that he was talking about in his first term. The other part about this is you would think that by now, some of these foreign leaders would realize that, to your point, the way to get to Donald Trump is not by some sort of joint partnership or some money under the table with a golf course. It's fork up $50 million worth of Bitcoin, run it through Donald Trump's Bitcoin organization, and then you get time with the president, you get a dinner, and then you get his attention. Clearly he was bored at the more traditional sort of diplomacy that I think they were engaged in here, and it just felt like Donald Trump showed his contempt for these leaders from Africa.
Yeah, you're totally right, and I'm sure there's 1,000 different ways you can do that with the blockchain and with crypto transactions and the transfer fees and all that I wouldn't understand because I don't do that stuff. But how would we know? And how would we stop it? And even if we knew, who would stop it? the DOJ, Pam Bondi's gonna look into it. We have never, there have been so many corrupt regimes the world over, but there has never been a more easily bribable and oft times bribed president than Donald Trump. And I don't know if we'll ever know the actual volume of it. Maybe Jake Tapper will come out in a book with like 5 years
John,
from now.
The other thing you mentioned is, you mentioned Donald Trump's sort of sleepiness or seeming bored. I mean, the other takeaway that I had from his meeting with the African leaders is, the questions about Donald Trump's dementia. And one of the key telltale signs of dementia is sort of forgetfulness and memory loss. And Donald Trump in that very meeting referred to the thing about Rwanda and Congo 2 weeks ago. He couldn't remember what it was about. He just said Rwanda and Congo, the Rwanda and Congo. And I was like, what is he talking about? And I looked back and realized there was a peace deal that was announced between Rwanda and Congo 2 weeks ago at the White House in the Oval Office. The foreign ministers were there. And so Donald Trump can't remember that from just a few weeks ago. The guy continues to slip and slide. He's falling asleep. I think the dementia is clearly, his decline is clearly getting worse.
I think this is classic tedious David Shuster trying to use this to demean the president. This is not, the fact that he couldn't remember that is not evidence of dementia. It's that he could not care less about Congo and Rwanda. They're not a real place. There are no real people there. Who the hell cares if they kill each other, if they have peace? What am I gonna bother to know about it? No, but the funny thing is, jokes aside, he has bragged about that peace since then. And it pops up in his head for him to brag, and then it's gone. It's gone, and he doesn't know. Yeah, and no, he could not. The idea that he's gonna fly 6 hours to Senegal or whatever, maybe to take ownership of a $400 million jet, but other than that, it ain't gonna happen. Also, I didn't know it was only a 6-hour flight from New York or Miami to Senegal. That's actually pretty interesting. But anyway, yeah, jokes aside, I do think there's quite a bit of if you believe that he has dementia, it's getting worse. I think there's a lot of evidence of that. We also had the press conference. I'll just mention briefly. We're not gonna do like a whole clip. He was asked about the arms transfers to Ukraine or whatever. There had been this big decision made that he apparently didn't agree with, but it was already done and he had no idea about it. And so a reporter asked him, have you looked into how exactly who made this final call? And Trump was like, no, I haven't even thought about it. Totally apathetic about massive decisions being made in his own administration that he doesn't agree with. So then the reporter asked, well, what does it say that you're not even in the loop for these sorts of things? And Trump said, I know, I would be the first to know. No, but we're talking about something where you just said you don't know and you're not even looking into it. And so it's combativeness and also dementia and tiredness. He's so sleepy. He's so very, very sleepy.